Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Prepper Podcast. We're another episode. I think we're up to 16 now. It's going great, and we've got returning guests already. That's how good it is. I've run out of people, so Steve's here to help me out, bail me out.
Hello.
You all remember Steve? If you don't remember Steve, that means you've not watched the previous episode, so go back and see that. Steve is Everyday Prepper. It's at the bottom there. It's also on his thing, but yeah, make sure you go and subscribe to Steve after this great channel. Bit of a competitor. We've had a bit of a race going on for a while, haven't we, Steve?
Running partner, I like to call him, Mike.
Yeah.
You support me, I support you.
There we go. That's it. That's what it's all about. That's it. We're just trying to overtake the fearmongers. It might take us a couple of decades, but
or more.
Or more, yeah, definitely. So I wanted to bring you on to talk about bartering because I've seen lots of things and I've always had it in the back of my head. Yeah, I'll just stockpile a bit of extra stuff and if I need to barter. But recently I've been thinking more about it because I've got myself to a situation where without making a bigger house, I've got enough preps to sustain me without, filling out the front room and having nowhere to live and turning into Delboy's apartment. So now I'm thinking, where do I go from here? So I was thinking of barter. I was thinking of precious metals and that. So is it something you thought about with regards to your preps?
It is, yeah. I haven't gone down the precious metals route, but I'm a little bit like you. I've looked into it, and there's a lot of channels that go on and on about it. Invest in this, invest in that, start stockpiling it. But what I wanted to, I made a few notes, before coming on. I thought, first of all, we want to consider what type of situation we're going to be in to have to barter.
Yeah,
because there might be some other considerations, depending on how bad things. If things are that bad that there's no cash and there's no, you can't. The currency means nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Then we'll probably have a lot of other things to worry about rather than bartering. So I think at the start of that is the key is to be prepped as much as you possibly can, so that you don't have to put yourself in a position where you are bartering, or at least you're on the other end of it, where people are coming to you and then offering you stuff rather than you having to go to someone else. Does that make sense? Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, I think if you're prepped enough, you shouldn't have to barter. But let's face it, things break, things go wrong, and people forget.
You run out of stuff.
Yeah.
So I thought, first of all, we're looking at. I mean, there's lots of different scenarios. There could be a grid down, there could be meteor hits, nuclear war, whatever. There's lots of different scenarios. But how soon would it start to happen? We've seen several occasions recently where all the supermarkets go down, their payment system goes down, for instance. It was only just recently, and that was like all of the UK. Now, if that was to happen, I suppose worldwide or the whole of Europe, for instance, then you're going to start using cash. Cash will run out really quickly. You won't be able to get cash out of cash points because the banks will stop it because it'll be deemed as being doing a run.
Yeah, there'll be a run on it. Yeah,
that's it. So they'll stop all of that immediately. So cash will die out or get used up fairly quickly. So yeah, what next? Then you've got bartering. So I suppose then you start thinking about what can I barter? And for me personally, you mentioned gold. If somebody came to me and went, I need some essential meds. And I know that you've got them, or hopefully word doesn't get around like that, but or someone I know, they go, look, I need all these meds, and it's quite a lot, but I've got this bar of gold, and I'll be like, personally, I'd be thinking, what am I going to do with that? I can't eat it. I can't patch someone up with it. You'd only be interested in gold, surely, if you're looking at society then building up over a period of time again, and then having some kind of gold standard or silver standard or whatever, and then starting from scratch that way. So it would be a future proofing currency, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So I'd rather someone come to me asking for meds and give me food.
Yeah.
Or water or water filtration or something like that. So that for me, I would think certainly initially, bartering would be about trading services for stuff.
So do you think keeping like the precious metals and things like that, the golds, the silver, it's more of a wealth preservation strategy than actually a bartering tool. You know, if, like you say, if because we're not saying this is the end, like the end of the world as we know it, are we necessarily? I mean, let me throw a hypothetical at you.
Go on.
5 years' time, we've moved completely to central digital currency.
Yeah.
That's no longer a thing. We're seeing it. It's happening. You know, not it's happening. Hackers or total power outage that completely destroys that system overnight, and we've not even got cash to fall back on. However, there's no shortage of food, and there's still things are moving around and stuff like that. Do you think that where could be where the precious metals and valuables, as it were, come in?
I guess so. It's a good question.
It might be out for,
Say again?
It's a short period. It might only be out for 3 months, 5 months. So,
so we're assuming there's still a government.
Yeah.
So there's a government in place. They'll do something else. They'll change the system on the fly or something like that. They'll have backups. They won't put CBDC in and eliminate cash. I mean, I know they've said that we're not going to eliminate cash unless everyone wants to, but what they're doing is they're training everybody to not want it. I saw that when I was working in the bank years ago. They were gradually training people to do everything online, and we knew what was happening there. All the staff in the branches were going to go, because they were going to want to close it. So they move you to where they want you to go. So, but if everything went down, I think they would then use some kind of backup. They would have to. Maybe because it's a crypto, isn't it? It's like a cryptocurrency. So maybe cryptocurrency will be the way to move.
Yeah, it's cryptocurrency without the freedom, though, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It is a worry, yeah. But assuming, so that's why my first question was, what scenario are we talking about? Because if it's literally just, their CBDC thing that they're playing with has gone wrong, they'll have it back up and running. They'll have backups for it. They'll have some kind of backup, I'm assuming. But if we're talking, it's without rule of law and complete grid down, the government are running around, disappearing into their bunkers and leaving us to it.
Yeah.
Then we're talking a different kind of barter system, aren't we?
Yeah. So you think gold and silver would quickly lose the value like cash in that situation?
Well, for me, it would. Yeah, I'd be like, well, what am I going to do with that? It's useless to me. Because if there was a grid down situation, so let's say the electricity grid goes down, CBDC is the last thing you want to worry about. Supermarkets will go offline eventually. They'll have to shutter down all of their stores because they don't want people looting. They'll have no freezers, no fridges, so all the fresh food will be gone. There'll be no transport. That'll stop. Everything will grind literally to a halt. So those people that are prepped are going to thrive, and it's probably going to end up being preppers bartering with preppers.
Yeah,
and everyone else falls by the wayside if it gets that bad. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it depends on the situation, definitely.
Because a lot of preppers do. I mean, I've seen prepper channels, and they are stockpiling silver and gold. So maybe if it gets to the point where it's preppers trading with preppers, if somebody's got a load of gold, they see the value of it. They create that value, right?
Well, yeah, I guess it would, but I would still have to think from a survival point. See, this is where it comes down to if it's about survival. And you're bartering for survival, gold is useless to me, utterly useless. What do you do with it? You can put it in mobile phones. You can sell it back to some other people for cash.
Silver's got more use, hasn't it? Because it's got the potential to like sanitize and stuff, and it's got a lot more uses in a survival situation.
Yeah. If you know what you're doing with it, if you know how to do that. Yeah, but I think if it came to that, I mean, I looked at gold, I looked at silver, and you can get these tiny little nuggets, can't you?
The coins and stuff like that. Yeah.
And so I looked into that, but then I thought, well, okay, what are people really going to want in in that kind of scenario. I mean, we don't know what sort of scenario we're going to end up in, but if it got to that stage, people are going to want their vices, right? So booze and fags.
Yeah.
So that I've got. Now I don't smoke. Not for 30 years, and I haven't drunk for the last 5 years, but I've managed to stockpile a few cartons of cigarettes. We've got some stashed.
You are more disciplined than me.
Well, it's sort of. I'm going to give you a little bit of a giveaway here, actually, because it happened by accident, really. Because I do deliveries, right?
Mm-hmm.
We do supermarket deliveries, and it's an age-related product. So there has been a couple of occasions in certain towns where you go to deliver the item, and either the customer's got no ID, and they're just trying it on, or they just don't answer the door. And so what the delivery company goes, well, you just have to take out the age-restricted items, give them the rest of the stuff, and then dispose of it carefully, is what they say. So dispose of it carefully means it goes in my preps. I know.
Really? They just take that hit?
Yeah. And so the supermarkets take that hit. It's bonkers. It doesn't always happen like that, but when it did, I made hay while the sun shined, if you know what I mean.
You just made 6 subscribers sign up to do just Deliveroo now.
No, more competition.
Yeah. So I mean, I've got them literally. Gold and silver was at the top because I wanted to speak to you about that because I'm considering silver myself, not so much as a SHTF thing, but purely as an investment point of view. As long as things don't go wrong, if I'm going to save for Disneyland, I may as well do it in something that's going to gain a bit more. But my next ones down were bartering items, and my first 3 were alcohol.
Yeah.
Not only is it a vice, it's a fuel, it's a sanitizer, it's all these things. Tobacco, I can't do it though. I'm still on this. I'm still too tempted. If I stockpiled cigarettes, as soon as somebody said, "Oh yeah, the grid's down," I'd be like,
you smoke all your bartering items.
Have you got any to trade? No, I'm smoking the box.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing. We bought loads of vodka in, right? Because vodka's great for like a sanitizer, as you say. So a deep cut or something, you can just tip vodka on it, like you see in the movies,
Yeah, shot for the wound, shot for you.
That's it. Absolutely, yeah. So, but that's the trouble. If it's that bad SHTF, would I then go back to drinking? I'd be like, there's all this booze in the house, but that's the last thing you want to do. Is
I think I'm the same as you. I've not drank for quite a while. The odd special occasion, I'll have one, but it's never took back over to the point where I'm going out Friday, Saturday nights and being hungover for a week. So I've got all this whiskey because I forgot to tell people, so they knew that's what I liked for Christmas. So I got all these birthday gifts and they just sat there.
Yeah.
But I think I'd be all right with that. If SHTF, I'd want a clear head. But I think totally. Personally for me, the tobacco would be too much of a temptation. But one of the other vices I put up there, which is overlooked a lot, is coffee. So coffee, I think, would be a high commodity.
Yeah. That's a good point because it's becoming apparently rarer, isn't it?
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
Yeah, and whether it's a crappy MRE freeze-dried coffee or not, 5 years after it hits the fan and we're not getting anything like that imported, that's going to be gold dust, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's definitely a good item
to
have. I managed to get hold of some morphine. It's a pretty good one. I'm going to tell you
we'll leave that one there.
But that would be a great one.
Yeah, I mean, everything's so restricted here as well because I was speaking to an American prepper recently and he's stockpiled some antibiotics.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, how have you done that? Like, have you not done the full course and kept? No, we could just go and buy them.
You go down Walmart and buy a truckload. Yeah.
Yeah. And over here, it's like, you have to have a lung in your hand and blood coming from your nose for them to issue you a week's worth of amoxicillin,
Well, they'll tell you to wait for 2 weeks first to see if it clears up.
Yeah, so try and put it back in yourself.
Yeah, it's very different in the States. While you're purchasing your Glock 19, you can pick up some antibiotics and everything else. Yeah,
that's my biggest fear on SHTF is a simple infection off a cut, something you take for granted, a chest infection that can develop into pneumonia.
Yeah,
How controlled these are, that's my biggest worry at the moment.
There are. I did a video actually a while back, where I covered some of this because the American channels, a lot of them go on about fish antibiotics and pet antibiotics, and they're just the same drug, but they're in different doses, so you just scale it up. But those are really difficult to get as well, without going to your vets and getting a prescription and everything else. But there are ways of getting antibiotics in the UK. You have to do a bit of digging, but there are definitely ways of doing it. So,
okay, we'll have a discussion after this.
Absolutely. I'll let you know. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what else you thought. I'll literally tell you the next 5 on my list, because this is the items I thought. Seeds, which is probably not in the immediate. Nobody's going to be thinking about seeds straight away. It's because of long term. Batteries, fuel, medication, store-bought and vitamins sort of thing, and salt and sugar. That was where I had my little list. So what do you think out of them? I mean,
salt and sugar is a good one. Yeah, that is a good one. Definitely. I think, because once the supplies dry up in the supermarkets, I think people are going to crave and salt. You absolutely need. We've got both. I think flour maybe as well.
Right. Okay.
For bread making, only because we make our own bread, and we use a bread machine to mix it. But I do all of that on the solar, so so I know that if there was a grid down, we can make our own bread.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing we have stockpiled.
Yeah, long term and cut off as an island, we could have flour though, right? Because we have got the ability to grow. The right plants for that, and
if they stop building new houses on all the fields, then
that's a whole other debate.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, I mean, as a prepper, from a prepper standpoint, is it better to overstock your own stuff of essential items, and if you have to, use that for trade? Or is it a good idea to have a stash of these non-essentials, like you mentioned, the alcohol and the cigarettes, specifically for that? What do you think is... Because it's all right having a year's worth of food, but if you suddenly start trading half of that food out, you're reducing your own time, right?
Yeah. So I think what you said first is overstock. Because if you overstock, you're not going to need to trade. If you overstock on food, you use that food for you. You don't go bartering, I think, but and then maybe have a little bit of focus on some other items, like say vices and things like that. And that's all I've done personally. I would rather have more supplies for me.
Yeah.
I remember you talking about in one of your videos, or maybe when we were chatting, ideally you'd want to be in a community where you were like having soup kitchens and providing food and cooking up for the community, and we want to rebuild as preppers and that kind of stuff. But are you a gamer?
Yes.
Have you ever played Rust on Steam?
Yes, I have.
Yeah. Brutal game, right? You as well as I do, you spawn naked, and you have to run around with a rock, and you're competing. And the great thing about it is you've got live players on there, and it kind of shows. I think it shows a little bit what it would be like in a post-apocalyptic situation, where you'll have marauders running around, building fortresses, and literally just attacking all of the people that are unprepared. And I thought about that from a bartering point of view, because there's bartering in that game, isn't there? So you can barter food for ammo and food for meds and vice versa and stuff like that. But it's at a secure trading location, because the thing is, if I've got someone says, "Oh, I want some food. I've got this gold," and I'll be like, "Okay, all right, well, let's do this trade." How do you know that they haven't told the next 100 people they're going to come across, and they're all going to raid your place? I think eventually it would you'll end up in a real apocalyptic situation like that. You're going to end up with people sort of having like a barricaded trading post, like weapons free. You go in, everyone's patted down, and it's organised, and there's people on guard to make sure the trades go okay, and then you get outside back into the wilderness again. Do you know what I mean? I imagine there'll be lots of that.
Yeah. Yeah. I literally put a note of barter away from your own home or location. That is one of the things that I've put notes on here. Yeah, because I think you're very right. It's all right thinking this is well and good. And one thing I mentioned recently in a video, I was talking about, like, I can't remember which video it was, but I was basically saying if we ended up on rations and things with this war spreading and what have you, it was if you're gonna barter, don't start doing that day 2. If you've got, so don't think, I'm going to go straight out and do that, because as soon as you're advertising the fact I'm fully prepared and everyone else is queuing up for 6 eggs a week with a ticket in the hand, you are putting a giant neon sign saying, I have stuff you want.
Absolutely.
Which is not a good advertising campaign when there's no rule of law.
No, definitely not. Or even if there is rule of law, because you're going to certainly stick your head above the parapet. And
rule of law. It's not working in peace times.
Not really, no.
This is the problem. So what about skills? Is that something you can barter?
Absolutely. Or skills or services. I mean, on my list I put services. Somebody's got a plumbing problem, or they need to look at sanitation, for instance, which I've covered on previous videos. The first thing that's going to happen during grid down is, or one of the things that will happen eventually, is the water will be cut off because there's no pumping stations, because they have run out of their fuel and they've got their backup generators, but eventually they'll go. And then your waste, your sewage won't disappear down your toilet anymore. You'll be flushing your toilet and you'll be backing up. So you've got to figure out, where's your waste going to go? And in fact, I did a video earlier, which I'm just about to upload on that. So, so somebody might not know how to make a composting toilet, or they might not know where to place it properly. So that could be a service that you trade for lunch. Or, a bit of food, or some meds or something like that.
Yeah. It's cool. I was thinking like more medieval. I was thinking, how long would it take me to learn how to do fletching and make my own arrows and things like that? There's going to be call for it at some point, right?
Also, some trebuchet, like huge catapult things. If somebody wants one of those built.
Listen, these are skills that are never going to go amiss, right?
Yeah, I don't know what sort of apocalyptic world you're going to be living in, man.
You'll see me in my first bug out location with this giant trebuchet. Just stay still for about 10 minutes while I load this. Right. No, it's interesting because it's something that people don't think about a lot, because tradesmen are going to be, they're going to be much better off than us office workers in this situation, right?
Possibly, if they're, because of their skills, absolutely, you're right. But what if they're not prepping? They'll just have those skills. Yeah. So that's all they'll have. So, but so they'll be in a good position to barter their skills, but they'll be starting from nothing, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, so, but they're probably in a better situation than a social media executive who has not prepped.
Absolutely, yeah. They'll be the first in the bin.
Yeah, we'll no longer need personal assistants and PR reps. It should be all right.
No, I think, they'll probably be by the end of this week. I should think the new ChatGPT that's about to be launched, isn't it?
Well, there you go. They're already getting done out of a job. Don't say that. I've just got a new job.
Sorry.
No, I mean, I've come to my end of my notes there. Personally, I have been thinking about the silver side of it. My biggest worry is, like you say, is if it came to the situation. Let's for example, every bit of water filtration I've got is packed up after 6 months, so I need to trade at that point. And that's an expensive item to get off somebody in a situation like that. If I came to you and said, can I have one of your water filters? What would you take for it? You're going to demand a high bartering price for that, right?
Well, yeah, especially if it put my life at risk.
Well, this is it.
I mean, they say everyone's got their price, don't they?
Yeah.
How far do you go? Yeah. I mean, although saying that, one of my previous video on water filters of the soil water filter. I was looking on it, 100,000 gallons that filters, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're looking at in a SHTF scenario, you need 1 gallon per person per day. So that'd be 100,000 days. So for family of 4, that will filter enough water for 68 years.
Right, should be all right.
Like that. Should be all right.
Should be covered.
Should be good.
Worry about the grandkids.
Yeah, that's it. And just pass it down. But I think gold and silver is a good investment, definitely.
Yeah.
You know, it's a more solid investment. The markets. I mean, I invest in the markets, and it's going all over the place at the moment.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not particularly good at investing. I'm not like some day trader kind of thing, making 50 grand a day like some of these people purport.
Yeah.
To own. But gold and silver is a bit more stable.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. For me, it was more long-term saving sort of thing. But yeah, it has fueled a lot of questions when it comes to barter, because I'm not ready. I'm not fully prepped. You know, there's always something else you want to get, and if it happens in a year's time, I'm still going to be in a better situation. But there's always going to be something that, I should have got that just before SHTF, isn't there?
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. Because you won't be. You literally, if it really does happen. Excuse my dog. Sorry. Just let her out. Sorry, I just let her out of the room.
That's all right.
Get out. Yeah. If it really does happen, then it'll be very quick. So you won't be. So that extra solar panel you needed or wanted, or that extra bit of kit is not. It's gone. That's it. Forget it. You're not going to be. You know, it's not going to be deliveries. There's not going to be an Amazon online and all that sort of thing. It's all going to go, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
On to the next topic, looting. No, I'm joking.
Well, that's why my first question back to you was, what type of scenario are we talking about?
Yeah.
Because, you know, if it comes to the point where we're literally bartering, you know, who's making the price up? You know, for someone down the road, it depends how many people are prepped. It depends what they've got prepped. So if somebody's really prepped, they might be able to give stuff away a little bit cheaper.
Yeah. Well,
half a bar of gold. You know?
Any bartering system, the price is dictated by the person who's got the thing you need, right?
Exactly. So, but then I reckon with bartering, immediately, as soon as it comes to that, whatever the scenario is, as soon as you get down to bartering, I reckon at the same time you'll get the looting and the marauders and everything else. So, you know, my thoughts are, if you're prepping for bartering, you need to be prepping for defense at the same time.
Yeah, I think it'd work in a nice, interesting way if you had a kind of community already set up. Like if you've bugged out, you've got a network, you've got a mag, you're all together, bartering between each other. That's going to be, you know, a given, isn't it? So
totally, yeah.
And,
I mean, I already do that with some of our ham radio guys. You know, we're like, oh well, I've got one of these. Well, I need one of those. Well, I've got one of these. So let's swap it over. So we're doing that already. You know, it's
Yeah, definitely. Cool. Well, it was interesting getting your insight. Have you got any more notes to throw at me before we?
I don't think so. No. I think I'd recommend anyone play Rust on Steam. Man, that's a brutal game. Teach you all about prepping overnight. That will.
Are you telling me playing Fallout all them years was no good to me? I've got so many Coke bottle caps. I'm going to be loaded. It's good. That's the currency, right?
It'll do you no good.
Well, there goes Plan B. Right. Would you like to say goodbye to the people?
Yes, thank you very much for watching. And we'll see you hopefully on another one of these.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe over at Steve's channel at some point.
I will get around to it. Yeah, I haven't done many live streams, as you know. My camera setup is all a bit naff, but
we'll get there. Together. That's sorted. So yeah, don't forget to go over to Everyday Prepper if you've not already. I assume you have. I think we've got all the same followers. But thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, all that wonderful stuff, and leave your comments below. And I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.
See you later.